Have you been wanting to see your favorite carnivore recipes in cookbook form? Then boy, do I have the proposition for you. I've started an Indiegogo campaign. These funds will allow me to get this book out much quicker than I could otherwise. If you're interested in seeing what the perks are, check out the link in my description below or go to www.indiegogo.com/at/CarnivorousChef. Hey there, my meaty friends. This is Reed, aka CarnivorousChef. What do knees over toes and bacon over steak have in common? Well, we all know that when using your body in an optimal way, that knees are always over toes. So that means when using steak in an optimal way, bacon is over steak. That is, bacon on the steak, wrapped up, with some cheese. If you'll see here, a wild hand is pulling a sled. This is a classic display of power by the hand species. Powerful. Powerfully grab yourself a cutting board and prepare for a steak slicing. Ribeye may not be the best option for this recipe, but it tastes so good that I just stuck to my guns on this one. The issue is that it's so separated that it wants to fall apart when I go to Butterflied, which is what you should be doing now. With a sharp knife, carefully begin slicing down the middle of your steak. This one is about 3/4 inch thick and weighs about 12 ounces. Not the most ideal candidate, but it'll work. It's okay if it starts kind of falling apart like mine was trying to do. It'll be held together by some girthy bacon and twine later on. Just continue to slice down until it looks even. You'll want to press it into the board too. That'll make you see where the seam is before you cut all the way through it. Once it's nice and butterflied, grab a meat mallet and begin to pound it out. You don't need to put a lot of force behind this when doing this. Just use the weight of the mallet to your advantage. All we're looking for here is the entire thing to be about 1/4 inch thick and even. Set aside and lay down some plastic wrap. I went with about 6 strips of Applewood Smoked bacon and I shingled that on the plastic wrap. I then topped that with my steak and gave it a sprinkling of salt. The side that lays on the bacon should be seasoned enough because of the salt in the bacon. I was looking for steakhouse vibe with this one, so I sprinkled on some blue cheese. If you don't like blue cheese, Parmesan or smoked cheddar would be an excellent replacement. I've made roulades on this channel before, but a quick recap on how to wrap it up. Preemptively fold over the excess bacon on the bottom and then carefully pick up the plastic wrap and start to fold it over. Once folded, continue to wrap until completely rolled up. This is pretty malleable from all the handling, so tightly wrap this in plastic wrap. We'll want to refrigerate this for about 30 minutes to make the next step easier. Once refrigerated and firm, you can take it out of the plastic wrap and grab some twine. Wrapping things in twine is really hard for me to explain, but here goes nothing. On one end, wrap a long piece of string around and give it a normal knot. Once you have your knotted end, pull about 1 inch down and place your finger on it so that it's at a straight line. At this point, keep your finger there to hold it and wrap a loop around the meat. Once it's back over, fold it under where you had your finger placed and repeat. When you get to the end, finish it with one last normal knot. If that helped, congrats, you kind of understand my brain. If not, comment below and I'd be happy to send you a better resource. We can finally cook this thing. Feel free to cook this in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 204 degrees Celsius for about 40 minutes if you don't want to bust out a grill. However, I'm going to grill mine. I went with some charcoal seasoning as well because I really wanted to emphasize the grill flavor. Don't forget that there's a ton of fat on this thing. You're going to want to keep a close eye on it while cooking it. Otherwise, you'll end up with a charcoal log. I suggest keeping a hot zone and a warm zone on your grill and cook it somewhere between those two zones. I didn't want to annihilate this on the grill, so once I got my color on the bacon, I threw it into an oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 204 degrees Celsius for about 15 minutes to finish it off. I was aiming for an internal temp of 130 degrees Fahrenheit or 55 degrees Celsius. Let this rest while we make a béarnaise sauce. Béarnaise is basically a heavily seasoned hollandaise. If you want a more in-depth video on how to make hollandaise this way, check out the card above. After watching this video, of course. I placed a heat-safe bowl on a really low gas burner to make this. The ratio is 1 egg yolk to 1 ounce of butter by weight. Start with your yolks and lemon juice in the bowl and vigorously whisk this. Passionately whisk this. You'll know it's ready for your cold butter when it starts foaming and getting pale in color. Add in all of your butter and don't stop whisking until thickened and removed from the heat. Taste for salt, and I went with a big pinch. For the béarnaise, I kept it simple by adding dried tarragon and black pepper. For this amount of sauce, I went with about 1/4 teaspoon of each. If you need to heat this up, do so by adding a very small splash of hot water or placing it on top of an oven that was on and is currently off. Our roulade has been resting and it's time to slice into it. But first, let's remove this twine. You can cut every loop if you want, or you can cut the knot ends and unravel it. The ends of this won't look very appealing, so those are a sneaky little snack for you. Slice this up and admire your work. The reason I should have used sirloin for this is that there's a ton of unrendered fat, but it still works out because the flavor of the ribeye is outrageous. I plated mine up by laying down slices and topping it with a generous amount of béarnaise sauce. I think I need to enjoy this in an actual dining room. Oh yeah, much better. I'm going to take this first bite from a Patreon community. If you're interested in joining, you get videos a day early as well as a Discord server to hang out in. Check out the link below. These flavors are not new to me, however, they may be new to you. The béarnaise sauce is such a nice addition to this already luxurious dish. This one has date night vibes written all over it. You could be luxurious too by liking the video and subscribing to the channel.